The Bead Keeper's Curse. Ada never expected to inherit anything from Mama Ebo. Her grandmother had been a woman of mystery, feared and respected in equal measure. Now, standing in the old family home, she felt the weight of the elder stairs pressing down on her. Some nodded approvingly. Others exchanged uneasy glances. The room was silent except for the village chief's voice reading the will. To my granddaughter, Ada, I leave my beads, the keeper of my craft, my secrets, and my legacy. May they guide and protect her as they have guided and protected me. A carved wooden chest sat in front of her, its patterns intricate and twisting like vines. It looked older than Mama Ebo herself. As Ada stepped closer, the air seemed to grow heavier. She placed a hand on the lid and hesitated. The hinges creaked as the chest opened, revealing rows of waist beads neatly arranged in small compartments. Some were bright, shimmering under the dim light. Others were dull and simple, their beauty hidden in their craftsmanship. But one set stood out, a deep midnight blue, woven with tiny gold accents. They didn't just shine, they glowed faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. A cold shiver ran down her spine. Then she heard it. A whisper, soft, distant, calling through the air. You shouldn't have touched those. Her breath caught. She spun around, but the room was empty. She shook her head. It was just her imagination. Gingerly, she lifted the beads from the chest and wrapped them around her waist. That was her first mistake. That night, Ada stood before an old mirror, admiring the way the beads fit her waist. They felt natural, as if they had always belonged to her. But something was off. Her reflection flickered. Just for a moment, her face didn't seem like her own. A trick of the light, she told herself. She turned away from the mirror, ignoring the unease creeping up her spine. She awoke to whispers. Lying in bed, she kept her eyes closed, willing herself to believe it was just the wind. But the voice was close, too close. Ada. Her eyes snapped open. The room was dark, except for the faint glow of her waist beads. Shadows in the corners shifted, breathing, moving on their own. She sat up, heart pounding. Something was wrong. By morning, she was already at the home of Mama Oluchi, one of the oldest women in the village. The elder sat across from her in a candlelit hut, flipping through the pages of an ancient book. Finally, she stopped. Her wrinkled finger rested on an illustration, waist beads, drawn in fine detail. The same midnight blue. These beads were never meant to be worn again, Mama Oluchi said gravely. Ada's stomach twisted. They belonged to a woman betrayed long ago. She cursed them with her dying breath. The candle flickered, and for a moment, Ada swore she saw something move in the shadows behind her. Desperate for answers, Ada visited the beadmaker's shop. It was small, cluttered with strands of beads hanging from every wall. Their colors shimmered as they caught the light, casting shifting patterns across the room. The beadmaker, a tall, enigmatic man with sharp eyes, watched her carefully. She showed him the waist beads. His gaze darkened. These are not ordinary beads, he murmured. He reached for a charm and held it out. This might help. But are you sure you want the truth? Something in his voice told her he knew more than he was saying. That night, the whispers returned. But this time, they were louder. Ada ran through a dark forest, breathless and terrified. Blue lights flickered between the trees, ghostly figures emerging from the shadows. The beads around her waist tightened, too tight, as if they had a will of their own. She stumbled, falling to the ground. The spirits surrounded her, their hollow eyes filled with sorrow and rage. The curse was no longer just a whisper. It was alive. The next day, Ada followed the beadmaker's directions to a forgotten shrine deep in the forest. Inside, an ancient stone tablet stood covered in inscriptions. She traced the words with her fingers, her breath catching as she read the truth. Long ago, a woman named Kem had been betrayed by those she loved. In her final moments, she poured all her pain and fury into the waist beads, vowing that no woman would wear them without suffering the same fate. Ada looked up. The spirits of long-forgotten women surrounded her, their sorrowful eyes pleading. She wasn't just a victim of the curse. She was meant to break it. Under the light of the full moon, Ada stood in the center of a ritual circle. The waist beads pulsed around her waist, resisting, fighting. She held them in her hands, summoning every ounce of strength she had. The spirits wailed, the shadows recoiled, and the beads began to unravel. They glowed brighter, then burst into golden dust. A rush of warm air filled the space. The spirits, once trapped, lifted their heads toward the sky. And then, they were gone. The curse was broken. Days later, Ada sat in her grandmother's home, her hands steady as she strummed new waist beads. These were different, not cursed, but powerful in a new way. A soft glow surrounded them, warm and welcoming. She smiled. She wasn't just inheriting her grandmother's beads. She was the new beadkeeper. And this time, she would write a new legacy. The end.